Well, hey, my friend, I'm so glad that you're with me here on the podcast today. I've got an incredible Canadian friend with me, Valerie. Valerie, I'm so glad that you're on the podcast with me today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So for those folks who don't know you yet, why don't you give us kind of a little idea who you are, what you do, and where you're from and all that?
Okay, well, I'm Valerie Wiebe. I live in rural Saskatchewan, Canada. And for those who don't know where that is, it's like north of North Dakota. I live about, I don't know, 5-6 hours from the border. And no, we don't drive around on dog sleds.
I'm sure most people. I actually did a interview last night with an artist group in North Dakota, in Bismarck, North Dakota, and
Oh,
I had
okay.
to. I told Tanya, I said I had to think a minute. Like, now where is North Dakota again? So
Right
I'm
at the
trying to get the
border.
visual now, right? So,
Yeah, yeah. So that's where I am. And I've probably been creative my whole life.
yeah.
But now I'm primarily working in landscape painting with acrylics, but I'm always exploring other techniques and avenues and other topics too. But because of where I live on the prairies,
Yeah.
the huge sky, this big landscape, it, it's it's kind of almost a foregone conclusion that that's what I would do, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they say Saskatchewan's full of a bunch of landscape painters. That's yeah.
You
So
can't help but, right? It's like
yeah,
being in Montana and seeing all the incredible.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
that's
you're kind of, I relate to you a lot because you're not only creative on the visual art side, but you got this rich music history as well. So how did all this begin for you? Did you grow up in a creative family, or when did you start sensing your creativity kind of emerging in your life?
yeah. I don't know. I think I came out with a paintbrush in my hand. I have pictures of myself from when I was small, and I'm always doing something creative. I grew up in a family where we sang together.
Oh,
My
wow.
father played guitar, and we would sing as a family. I sang with my sisters. We would perform a lot in churches and all kinds of other kind of places. So yeah, I just been kind of creating my whole life. It's just been like, okay, what can I do now? Okay, what can
Yeah.
I create now? So yeah.
So
So
did
the
you ever have a
music part.
grid for doing that like professionally, or was that always it's always kind of been a hobby for you, or when did it start to kind of emerge because it's a major part of your life now?
The art part,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, well, okay, I have to go back a few years. In 1991, my husband and I, we went to Bangladesh and served there for 3 years with an organization called Mennonite Central Committee.
Okay.
And they do uh, they do relief work. That's kind of how they started. They help when there's disasters, that kind of thing. But then they also started doing economic development, and now they do peace and justice. So when we went, my husband worked. He's in agriculture. My husband is a farmer,
Okay.
so he worked in agriculture. And I was a teacher. I have my education degree, and I initially went as a teacher. But then partway through, I got pregnant and our youngest son was born there. And I stopped teaching partly because I realized that career choice had always been a mistake.
Mm,
Um, I had done it in art education, but I did not have a very good school experience, and I realized that what I was doing was living out of my own school experience and trying to make it right somehow in my
wow.
own
Wow.
teaching, and it was very dysfunctional. That was kind of the beginning of this journey that I've been on, that began to wake me up a little bit. I think I was just sort of floating, and going through my life, and then all of a sudden we went to Bangladesh, and that country just shakes you up. Just
Wow.
it shakes you to the core, your foundations. And so I stopped teaching, and I began to work with one of the job creation people in the office and working as an artist with my art background. And I just loved that job. And that was kind of the beginning of me realizing that no, I don't want to be a teacher. I want to do something in this creative field. Um, and that was sort of the beginning of that journey. Yeah.
It's amazing how the Lord will use things that are like seemingly totally unrelated. And
Mm,
yet when you're paying
yeah.
attention and when you're listening,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden those are the real pivotal moments in your life. So you're working that job, you're loving the impact
Yeah.
of art and helping people and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. And
Yeah.
so
It was just awesome. And it was a wonderful experience. But it was, like I say, it really shook everything, your whole understanding of what is normal,
yeah, yeah.
and what's, it just changes everything. But probably things really got interesting when we came back, because you think, oh, I'm going back home. I'm going to understand. Everything's going to be clear to me.
Right.
Oh, no, 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 no. Now we have reverse culture shock, and it's even worse than the other way, because you expect yourself to be able to understand what's going on,
Mm,
but you don't. You're like a deer in the headlights.
yeah.
Everything is weird. You're like, what is this place? Why do people behave that way? We have so much. All of a sudden you see your own culture with, like, your
Different
eyes are
eyes, right.
open, right?
Yeah.
And I started, after we came back, after about 6 months, I started a fine arts program. And I think that was kind of the start of when I said, yeah, okay, this is what I'm really going to do. I went and got my fine arts degree. But at the same time, I think that's actually when I really started to go into the wilderness,
Mm,
because I actually got to a point where my faith just crumbled out from under me. And I
wow.
had to start all over again. Right
What was that
from
about? Was that something to do with your art or just the
No,
process of
it was
living
just
life?
I think it was a whole process of God saying, that old self, that
Mm,
that before Bangladesh person that you were, that's done. We're
wow.
no more of that.
Wow.
So all my old beliefs, my way of understanding who God is, that's when I began this journey of, like, trying to just figure this out, and started right from, well, maybe there is no God. Like, literally
Yeah.
began
Yeah.
to even deny that there was a God. And God just has been so faithful to just build me up again, and go, and this time with a better, clearer understanding.
Uh,
The
I
other
love it that our
Yeah.
questions don't make God nervous, right? I mean, he's
No,
he's right
no.
there in the middle of all that saying,
Yeah.
I'm with you in the process, right?
Yeah, even to denying God, God
Mm,
says, oh, okay. I mean, because we can deny him, but that doesn't mean that God goes, yeah, okay, I don't exist.
yeah, exactly.
Here. No, it doesn't work that way. The other piece of this that that was very painful, and I know that you relate to this, Matt, is memories, and things started to come to me about abuse from my childhood.
Mm,
And I began to not only see my own life with clearer eyes, I began to see my birth family with clearer eyes, and began to see how dysfunctional and abusive it was.
yeah.
And yeah, that's been a very long, hard, painful process. Yeah.
I think a lot of, for all of us as artists, as we're in our creative process, that dredges up things within us that we don't often expect to come to the surface. And yet it's a beautiful gift that the Lord gives us as
Yeah.
creatives to,
Yeah.
it's like when my mom died and I started painting and I'm like, why am I painting? Like I'm a basket maker, but I would get in front of the canvas and all of a sudden just these surges of
Yeah.
emotion, like this catharsis would kind of come out. And I
Yeah.
love that whenever even when we're not ready, but when we're Holy
Yeah.
Spirit's always there drawing those things
Yeah.
out of us so that we can not only enjoy the artistic process but also
Right.
enjoy that healing
Yeah,
process.
and I find in my own art, when, like, I'm with you there, when I am creating something, sometimes I don't even realize why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I don't think I understood why I was painting so many these big wide open spaces. I didn't understand that
Mm,
until I remembered it. I connected it with an event when I was very small. I was only about 3, and I was a busy child, not naughty, just really super busy.
Yeah.
And we were driving in one of those little VW Beetles, and I was in the back, and I was being noisy, and I'm sure my father had yelled at me about a dozen times to be quiet, and I didn't hear him, because that's part of ADD, is you don't actually hear it. And he stopped the car, got out, opened the back, pulled me out, set me on the side of the road, and drove away.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
we're not talking on a busy street, we're talking out in the middle of nowhere. Like, so all of a sudden I'm a very small child under this big sky all by myself,
My goodness.
and that event just went into my head so deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think unconsciously I even realized why I was painting what I was painting.
Wow.
I think again, just like the teaching of trying to make it right, trying to make it right myself, I keep trying to make it right in my paintings. Like, if I just do this, it'll be okay. If it'll just do this, I'll be okay. But it don't work like that.
That is so powerful. That is so, it's amazing the things that get lodged, in our subconscious, and we don't even know it. And then we just build over it and we keep on going, and we see this theme in our life, but we're like, there's no relation to why it's there. And yeah.
But I would say then, moving now to Created to Thrive, being part of this program, I started with, it was a 30-day challenge.
Oh, really?
I think that's how I started. That was in 2018, I believe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you've been with us a long time.
That was a ways ago. Yeah. And I did that. And that was kind of the beginning of me discovering this voice that I wanted to express about where I live and what I see around me, and God is just kind of just gently led me one step at a time. Of course, I want to run about 1,000,000 miles ahead of him, right? It's like, no, go back. But that's kind of where it started, with that 30-day challenge. And then I joined CTT.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your life, just getting to watch your life and getting to know you and the experience course, the mentoring program and all that. I mean, it's been so beautiful to see how you've, really blossomed into who you are now and stepping into all this. What is, just for folks, they've heard a little bit of the back journey. What's life like now? What's been this evolution of your life? Because you're really doing some incredible things in your.
Well, it's nice of you to say so. I honestly wish I could say, hallelujah, I've arrived. No, because recently I've been kind of going through another little bit of a hard stuff. Or through the pandemic.
Yeah, sure.
I did not have huge financial success. I did not sell a lot. I sold some stuff, but that was really hard. But then again, God was like, yeah, but just wait with that stuff. We've got more important things. God's always doing that to me. He's like, just wait. I know you want that, but let's just deal with this right now.
Yeah.
So it's been more of like, in my own family, my husband and my children, God just worked and shifted something, and all of a sudden we're talking and listening to each other. So just been working in our family this year. And again, it's always been about clarity, about understanding and really beginning to see things clearly. And more recently, it's gone back to that the abuse in my childhood, and really gaining some freedom from that. Yeah. Realizing that as long as I live in that, I live out of that, that's where my life goes, right? And the big thing for me was recognizing that when Jesus rose from the dead, he didn't go around saying, oh my God, it hurts, it hurts so much. You hurt me. He didn't live out of the hurt.
Yeah.
But he still had scars. Yeah. He bore those scars, but he didn't live out of that pain.
That's so good.
So for me, always the first step, and almost the only step, is the recognition, and then comes the freedom. Yeah. So, yeah.
There's so many people we hear from, in the mentoring program, and we've got just tens of thousands all over the world that listen to the podcast and are always saying, I've got this thing or these things, this baggage from the past that I can't seem to let go of, and that sort of thing. you're talking about recognition, recognizing that there was an issue. What would you say a couple of things that have really helped you in this process of not having to live out of that pain, but living, from it, that it's something that happened and now I'm going to move forward from it. So
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I had a thought and it's gone.
it's gone.
Hit me. But yeah, like I say, I think the recognition of it is huge. But another thing that I started doing, the story I told about being left on the side of the road and being abandoned. God gave me this idea of like, okay, let's rewrite that story. And what I realized is that stories don't have to be true to have truth.
That's
right?
good.
Right? They don't have to be true to have truth. And I started rewriting the story. So instead of okay, he leaves me on the side of the road, drives away, but I'm standing there and all of a sudden I feel God's presence, right? So I rewrote it that way.
Yeah.
And then I rewrote it. Oh, he drives away, but this time my whole family gets out of the car except for my father, and they all stand on the road beside me.
Wow.
Right? So I rewrote it that way. And then the final way, when I got to that point, is I rewrote the story and I said, this time my father gets out of the car with me and he bends down and he actually talks to me,
Wow.
and he connects. So even though that didn't actually happen, I can rewrite it and now I can live out of that instead of the ugliness. And you can do that for anything, right? Because the brain is interesting, it things don't actually have to be true for the
in
brain.
the natural, in the
natural world, for the brain to kind of connect with that and go, yeah, okay, I can do that.
Yeah. I love that you're intentionally reframing that and inviting Holy Spirit into that and to heal that memory. I mean, to say, Lord, just like you can heal my body, heal this memory so that I can live out of a healed and whole place with you as opposed to a place of woundedness. That is so good. That is so good.
Yeah.
Well, Valerie, I want to go have a cup of coffee with you and be like, so how long were you there? And what did you do afterwards? I don't know, hear all this story, but I know I'm just so thankful that you are walking in healing with this. And I know that as others are listening right now that are dealing with that kind of thing in their life as well, just again, recognizing that, reframing that, inviting Holy Spirit into that is such a healing, powerful thing.
And another big thing for me right now is God saying to me, because I've gotten a little obsessed with wanting to sell things and getting the numbers, and God was just like, Val, you're paying attention to the wrong numbers. It's not about the sales, and it's about, and you're always saying this, the connection is always about the connection over and over and over and over again, and I'm discovering that that's true, right? It's very true. It's about
it is. I think it's for all of us. It's that balance of, I'm believing God. I've got a vision. I'm moving in a forward trajectory, and at the same time, I'm holding it loosely, knowing that as I commit my ways to the Lord, He's the one that brings the fruitfulness. He's the one that helps me succeed. And it's a mindset shift. I mean, completely. But
that's like right with what we were talking about, right? That this whole time it's about God going, no, Val, before we can do that, we have to get everything else in line. We have to move it all over here. Jesus always says it's not like this, it's like this. And like God's going, no, Val, it's not like that, it's like this. He's always trying to bring me on side here.
Well, I think for all of us, we in our natural mind, we think somehow when we see somebody else succeeding in a certain way, and we may not be, that somehow we're missing out. And yet when we're walking with the Lord, it's like He's preparing that foundation for us to be able to experience the things that He has for us. And that just because somebody else gets theirs doesn't mean that we're getting any less or that we're late in some way. But that's so good.
And everything we do is a seed, right? We're planting seeds.
Come on.
And you say that too.
Well, Jesus said that, and I'm just saying what
I know Jesus said that. But a big part of this is one of the things that's been so awesome about this program is it's not like it's the be all and end all. Sorry, Matt.
Right.
But one of the things that's been so awesome about this program is I do a lot of other reading. I'm a very curious person. I'm always learning and searching and trying to find out things. But I find stuff and then I bring them back, and then I sometimes I compare them to what you're teaching about and what's happening in this group. And I go and I get it confirmed. And then it's like, oh, okay, this is truth as well.
Yeah.
It just all builds on each other.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's
I
a
just love
journey.
it.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, I love it. We all have a piece and we're all bringing that piece and we're all getting revelation as it comes. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing.
So
So,
good. So good.
and I love watching the journey that you're on, Valerie. I mean, just coming
Thanks.
alive, and you're such an
Yeah.
encouragement to so many others. And thank you for being on the podcast today. I know
Aw.
folks are going to want to connect with you, see your artwork, all that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So where's the best place that they can do
Oh.
that online?
Best place is my website, which is www.wiebe.works.
Awesome. Awesome. And we'll have that in the show notes so folks can just click
Yeah.
right there. But
Awesome.
Valerie Wiebe, thank you so much for being on the podcast with me today. It's been a joy.
It's been awesome. Thanks.